And welcome back to the channel where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is Friday First. This is that series where we talk about those brand new #1 issues, the new character debuts, story arcs, and the like. This is for books that are coming out next week, which I believe is July 31st. Yeah, July 31st, the last week of the month before we head into August. So it's also the first comic week post San Diego Comic Con, which I will not be at, but I do have friends that are going to be there. I will actually be at another convention this weekend, which is Corpus Christi Comic Con in Corpus Christi, Texas. I'll be there Friday through Sunday, 3-day show. So if you are like me, didn't go to San Diego, but you're in the area and down near Corpus, come say hi. Come see us at the show. We'll be at booth 420 all weekend long, and hope to see you there. So anyway, that aside, we are here to talk about some comics coming out next week. Before we get into that, we're obviously going to talk about some of the #1 issues from last week that I got a chance to read. I'm actually recording this on Wednesday because I'm leaving Thursday afternoon. So so I could only read a handful as usual, but I made a point to read all the ones that I could. So we're going to jump right into those. The first one is Eternal Warriors, Last Ride of the Immortals. This is a new series from Valiant, and it's featuring the 4 immortal siblings. You have Ivar, the Time Walker, Aram or Armstrong from Archer and Armstrong. You have Gilad, who is the Eternal Warrior, and you have Vexana, who is their little sister, and also kind of ambiguously evil or good, depending on the day, whatever. So in this particular story, we open up in the Wild West during the time of Wyatt Earp and all of that, and these 4 are kind of thought to be like this group of outlaws called the Immortals or whatever, or bounty hunters or whatever they are. And they come into contact with Wyatt Earp, and then we shift to the present real quick, and we find them in the present, and then they have to travel back in time because everything has changed, and we don't know why or what the catalyst for that change was. And history is wrong. People aren't, the Immortals aren't remembering things correctly, and they have to work together, even though they don't all get along, and they don't. Some of them didn't even know the others were like one character didn't know that his sibling was this other person. They didn't know their other identities, what the general public know them as. So that was interesting. So I thought as a first issue, it was pretty good. You got a good sense of who each of the 4 are without going into, the years and years of history of the characters. You didn't need to know any of that because this is just a side story. You rarely see these siblings together. In any version of Valiant, they're always doing their own thing. So it was cool to bring them together for the story, and I enjoyed it. It was better than I expected it to be. So I'm looking forward to the next issue. Next up, we have Absolute Power Origins issue 1. This is telling the never before told origin story of Amanda Waller and why she hates superheroes so much. And it's interesting because the correlation between Amanda's hatred for superheroes and what happened to her it's not a strong correlation, but at the same time, you can kind of understand where she's coming from in a way. So it's really interesting seeing her personal struggles, her losses that kind of set her on a certain path towards who she becomes. But the footing that she's standing on, it's a little shaky, right? Obviously, what was done to her and her family, unexcusable. More should have been done about that. Hits home with a lot of people. I'm sure it's real life in comics form, up to the point where you introduce vigilantes and superheroes, of course. But when we get to there, the correlation between the two, that's where it gets a little shaky. And, she feels like she has to do something to enforce change, enact change and all that stuff. And, totally behind that. But the route she takes to get there, just, a little iffy. And, it leads us to the character that we know and love to hate as Amanda Waller, who's always, making, misery and pain and terrible choices for superheroes and against good in the name of good kind of thing. So it was really interesting to learn more about her backstory though. So I did enjoy it. And yeah, if anytime you can make a character that is typically loathed relatable and you can have some empathy for them, I think that's good writing, and I think it's good character building, and I think we got that in this book. All right, next up is Flash Gordon issue 1. This is written by Jeremy Adams, who you may know from some DC stuff, some really good runs on Flash and Green Lantern, and this is from Mad Cave, and it's kind of it's not a reboot or a retelling or relaunch of Flash Gordon. It's a continuation. He's already like gone up against Planet Mongo and the Merciless and all of this stuff, and now we open with him being prisoner in this place, and we don't know how long he's been there. His hair has grown long. He's got a beard, all that kind of stuff, and he finds out that someone's in trouble, and he figures he's got to escape. But not all is what it seems, and it seems like while he's been gone and held captive, a lot has changed in the universe that is going to throw him for a complete loop. So I love that they just took this classic story, and instead of just kind of retelling it, doing their own version of it, they instead continued on and built on that foundation of Flash Gordon and are telling their own stories going forward with the character. It was a really interesting read, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was, there was plenty of action. There was, drama. Obviously, no romance because we were dealing with a prisoner escape and that kind of thing. But his intentions are towards a romantic nature, and we'll see how that goes because, like I said, not everything is as it seems. And it was a really solid first issue, I thought. Next up is Supermassive issue 1. It's a one shot, I believe, but it's tying into the Catalyst War that's going to end in the next issue of Radiant Black issues, I should say, 30 and 30.5. This brings all the characters of the Massiverse together: Dead Lucky, Shift, the various Radiants, Infernal Girl Red, Rogue Sun, all of them together in this story to save a character from one timeline to bring back to the other timeline to be able to join together and fight, the Catalyst War in the main Earth, I guess it is. I like the team up. I like the relationships between each one of them. They have histories. Each like little pairing had different histories with each other from various books and the previous Supermassive and all, different things, right? So that was cool. The action was top notch. Emotional kind of beats towards the end, especially. All that was fine. The one nitpick I have is that if you pick this up, I mean, it's a one shot. It's a issue number 1. It's I don't know. Even if you were reading any of the series, just like one of the series, and you pick this up, or if you're picking this up cold to kind of get introduced to the world, you will be completely, absolutely lost. Even me, having read everything Massiverse, things happened so long ago in some instances that I don't remember what brought certain characters to this point. Some of them I did. Some of them I'm like, where did this happen? That kind of thing. So, and there was like no like recap, no info dump whatsoever, no explanation of why they need to come together aside from, you feel like you're in the middle of the story where Wendell is telling everybody, this is what I need you to do. You need to go do it, or, this will happen. So, yeah. And then when it leaves off, you're like, okay, they're going to go help, but there's no interaction with the Radiant Black, the main Radiant Black at all. And I know based on what's going on in the Radiant Black series, how that would not really be possible at the moment, but still, it feels like they should have given you some kind of information about why they needed to come together, what brought them together, for people that might have just picked this up on a whim. So it kind of gets a few notches down for that reason. If you even, like I said, even if you're totally invested in the entire world, there are going to be some things you might not remember. And if you're only reading a couple of the books, you're still going to be somewhat lost, especially if one of those books is not Radiant Black. So, yeah, a little work going into this to kind of pull everything together would have been nice. And finally, we have NYX issue number 1, which I thought was a really fun issue. I thought it was a nice, fun beginning to a story that has a bunch of characters that typically wouldn't make sense to team up, but within the course of this one issue, you understand how they came into each other's lives. It was pretty cool how, I mean, and this isn't really spoiling anything because it's in the first few pages. So Miss Marvel is going to a new school. She runs into Sophie Cuckoo, who's also going to the school, and Prodigy is a teacher at the school. They go to a club, Anoli's there. Wolverine comes in later. It made sense. It was organic. It felt natural. It didn't feel forced. And their goals kind of align within this book as the story, unfolds as we read through it. So that even made sense. And then even the villains that are introduced that are causing a lot of chaos have history and connections to some of these that makes it kind of like a perfect opposition for them. So these teams built themselves within the course of this issue. You got a lot of downtime, a lot of character building with Kamala and Sophie and even David. And so you got a lot of character building with them, building their relationships together. The focus was mostly on Kamala and like her life. We got, her talking on the phone to Bruno, interacting with her family, that kind of thing. So she's obviously the central character. But I think it did a really good job of laying everything out cleanly for us in a fun package that still introduced a threat and left us on a cliffhanger. So it did everything a first issue should do. I thought it was really good. Art was nice. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the series going forward. All right, so that's all the recaps. Let's get into those books that are coming out next week. All right, first up is our one and only honorable mention this week. This is Super Pets Special by Identity I can't even say Identity Crisis. Obviously, a play on Identity Crisis. So, Bitewing, gets the help of the Super Pets, and it's just a fun, mysterious story. Starts off on the Kent farm, and it looks like Bitewing meets the Super Pets, and things are going to get hairy, as they say. Stories of Mistwolf and Muthem, the dark side of the dog bed, the many pets of Damian Wayne. You'll have to squeak it to believe it. So, just sounds fun, right? If you are a fan of the Super Pets, I still have not seen the movie, but if you're a fan of those characters and just that concept, that world, you've read previous stuff with the Super Pets, you'll definitely want to check Identity Crisis out. Speaking of funny stuff, we've got what everybody feared when when Disney bought Marvel. Marvel and Disney, what if Donald Duck became Wolverine? And it's not just Donald Duck becoming Wolverine, it's old Duck Donald. It's the old man Logan kind of application to Donald Duck. And I think that's hilarious. He's in a superhero-less wasteland, and just he's turning the tide by by battling when he would prefer naps and Grandma's apple pie. It says here there's a Mickey Hawkeye, there's a Goofy Hulk at his side. So it's just, it's all those things that we feared, and now we just kind of can laugh at and have fun with. And I think that's cool. So I'm giving this one a possibly good because, it is what it is, and you might not like it at all, but it just sounds like a fun time. So I don't know if I'm going to get this or not, but if I do, I'm just going to have fun with it. And I suggest you do the same. Next up is a book from Vault Comics that caught my attention because of the cover, which I'll show in a second. It's called Something Crawled Out, issue number 1, and it's about this woman, Edith Miller, who, she just doesn't really do much. She just goes through the motions of life. She works at a gas station. She just kind of works, comes home, chills out, all that stuff. But her sister doesn't come home one night. And as she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister, she unearths this whole like a bunch of missing girls that and rotting bodies, and the police are no help. And so she gets her best friend, and they try to find her sister before whatever happened to these other women happens to her as well. So this is the cover. I'll kind of scroll, and it's a pretty eye-catching cover. You see that and you're like, oh, what's that about? So that's why I looked at it to begin with, because that cover caught my attention. I think that's a really powerful piece, and yeah. So if I can find this book, maybe I'll check it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to give this one a potentially good. Here's another one I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find or check out, but this is Blade Runner Tokyo Nexus. I meant to put this in my honorable mentions, but I'll just go ahead and, because I passed that section, I'll just keep going with this one. But this is the electrifying new Blade Runner series. We're in Tokyo in 2015, and it looks like two survivors are fighting for their life. The Blade Runners release their problems. There's a failed mission that happened off-world, and only two survived. They've returned to Tokyo to find who the traitor was that left them to die. So, yeah, sounds pretty involved. The cover art, if I don't know if that's the interior art or not, but it's pretty slick looking cover there. Let's see, Mellow Brown is the writer, and Kiana Shore is the also writer. So they're co-writing, Rodolfo Taibo is the artist. I'm not familiar with any of their work, but the cover looks cool. Yeah, so if you're a Blade Runner fan, check it out. And like I said, I might, if I can find this, I might flip through it and see what it's like, or look up a preview or something. But for now, because I don't know much about it, I'm just going to give it a possibly good, and we'll see. Seems like a lighter week this week, but we'll see what happens. This one I'm actually really excited about. It's Firefly Verses, issue 1, and this is an alternate reality, alternate take on the Firefly universe. This is what if the Browncoats won instead of lost, and what happens to all your fan favorite characters in that scenario. It's also written by Ryan Parrott, who did Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Just a fantastic writer. I love Ryan Parrott's writing style, and I love the Firefly universe and the Firefly characters. And this is an interesting take that we haven't explored before, to my knowledge. So I'm really curious about, what Ryan Parrott thinks that they would do in that regard. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see what the story is all about, and I'm giving this one a promisingly good. The Ms. Marvel Annual is the latest edition of the Infinity Watch crossover, and yeah, some of these are hit and miss. Some are good, some are bad, so you just don't know with these. It looks like we've got a Nick Fury story at the end of this one as well. Multitude is, I don't remember who Multitude is, but Multitude encounters Ms. Marvel in this, and so Ms. Marvel gets involved with this whole Infinity Stones thing just kind of by running into this guy. So we'll see what kind of story that is. It is Sabir Pirzada and Aman Vellani writing it, so they wrote the past couple of Ms. Marvel series, which I did like. So chances are I'm going to like this one as well. But I'm going to give it a potentially good, just because I've been really kind of back and forth with these. So next is Black Widow Venomous issue 1, a brand new Black Widow series by Erica Schultz. And it's kind of exploring Natasha now kind of embracing and getting used to the symbiote and working with it, and doing spy work with a symbiote. So that's cool. That's really all the description says. It doesn't really say anything. It just says it's redefining the Black Widow's relationship with the symbiote and setting the stage for her appearance coming up in the Venom War. So I actually don't know if this is a series or a one-shot or what this is, but I'm gonna check it out, and I am going to give this one a potentially good as well. Next up is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Darkest Hour issue 1. We are at the end of this long running story that has been told throughout Boom Studios' license of Power Rangers with Ryan Parrott, now Melissa Flores, Kyle Higgins before that. Just this long epic saga of the Power Rangers is coming to an end with this as the ultimate battle against Dark Spectre it plays out, and there are unexpected consequences that birth out of this. And we don't know where things are going from here, but we do know that things are continuing. So they're going to be telling new stories with Power Rangers, but it's just not going to be along this storyline, I guess. I really don't know. I don't know what exactly is happening, but I'm sad to see this end. But it's had a long road to tell its story, and it kind of makes sense to bring this particular story to a close. And so I'm excited to see what comes next as well. But for this one, because I think the Power Rangers books are some of the best books on the stands today, I'm giving this one a positively good. If you have not checked them out, you should definitely check out Power Rangers. Get the trades from Boom Studios because they are fantastic. And finally, we have X-Force issue number 1, A New Path is Forged. Rachel Summers, Betsy Braddock, Sage, Surge, and Tank, who is it says introducing, so it must be a brand new one. This is your new team. They're doing off-book missions that apparently hold the fate of the Marvel Universe in their hands. Forge detects increasing threats across the planet, so he recruits specialists for each target. So we bring in special guest stars in each issue or arc or whatever. Deadpool's in this one, for instance. So interesting take, and that's kind of what pulled me into it at the beginning, learning that we were going to have these rotating guest stars, appear and kind of be part of the story for these special missions. So I think that's kind of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm going to give this one a promisingly good, just because it's got a decent cast of characters, and it sounds fun. So promisingly good. All right, that's all of the books that are the new number 1 books that are coming out next week. So I'm going to share a few other anticipated books with you, and then I'll let you go for your weekend. But let's get into those. First one is Spider-Man: Shadow of the Green Goblin issue 4. I believe this is the last issue. And it says this is this kind of forges the beginning of the Green Goblin. It's a very important part of his origin story, I guess. It says the choice that Norman Osborn makes in this issue, there's no coming back from it, and that's kind of what pushes him over, I guess. So I'm curious to see what that is. Next up is Gromit's issue number 3. This is just a fun story. No heroics, no supernatural stuff, no fantasy stuff. It's just a slice of life book about a couple of kids who like to skateboard and the shenanigans they get up to. And I think it's a fun book. It's a fun concept. The art is great. I'm enjoying it. And I can't wait for more. Then we have Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider issue 3. It looks like maybe she's fighting up against Chameleon. She's taken the form of Ghost Spider herself, and they clash in this issue, so we'll see what happens with that. But so far this one's been fun as well. Annihilation 2099 issue number 5. I believe this is the last issue of this miniseries, this weekly miniseries, and in this one we focus on Dracula. Finally, he's kind of been telling the story in the background, but at the same time we get a Darkhawk in this one, and that's what I'm excited about. I love Darkhawk, and these days we see Darkhawk few and far between, so I don't know what version of Darkhawk this is. It says a Darkhawk attacks from the stars. Dracula fights back, and so we're going to see Dracula fight a Darkhawk. I'm all in for that. Then we have Blood Hunt issue 5. Is this the last one? Is this the end? I don't remember if it's 5 issues or 6 issues. It might be 6. Can't read what that says. 5 of 5. No, it's the last issue. So this is the end of Blood Hunt, apparently. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it all wraps up. I've been reading all the tie-ins and getting all the perspectives, and we know kind of what's going on in the main story. So I'm really curious to see how this ends and what if any impact this has on the Marvel universe going forward. I'm kind of guessing there's probably not going to be any, and if so, it's going to be very small. But we'll see what happens. And last but not least, we have Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 7. We're already at 7 issues. Man, that's crazy. A brand new arc starts here, so I should have actually put this in the main books. I didn't even realize that until I just read it. So yeah, this should have been like number 1 on my list in the top books. But yeah, new arc starts here. They after their battle with Kingpin and Green Goblin, Spider-Man and Green Goblin with Kingpin, Green Goblin and Spider-Man both know they aren't as ready to reshape the world as they hoped. So they start training. And in the meantime, we get more on Ben and Jonah and their news venture and all of that stuff. And then the Ultimates. The Ultimates are here. And things kind of go crazy with that as well. So we're going to see what happens when you mix more heroes in this new version of the Ultimate Universe. So I'm excited about that as well. But that's it. That's all the books that I got to talk about this week. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up, because that really does just help the channel and the algorithm and all that good stuff. But it also just makes my day. And of course, hit that subscribe and notification bell if you don't want to miss any of the other content going up on this channel. You can follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, and type in onlygoodcomics.com to bring you right back to this YouTube channel where we talk about only good comics. Until next time, or Corpus Christi Comic Con if you happen to be in the area, keep reading those comics. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.